Hey everybody, it's Gil here with the sailing vessel Dreamchaser, and in last week's episode we showed you a little bit about how we get our Zen moments with coffee, and I told you about our plans for how we intend to make our way to Florida. In this week's video I get a few little things done in New Jersey to wrap up, I get on an airplane, and I fly back to see my family. It's wonderful to go ahead and do that. I hope you guys enjoy this video. You'll see us doing some work on the boat as we prepare it for our trip for Florida. Yeah, kind of bored today. I decided I'd go walk around into a cool looking marine store that I found. Pretty good sized one, and it's not one of the big chains, so it's always cool looking at this kind of stuff. Square D Marine in Fork River, Jersey. I just stopped in a cool nautical shop. Like all kinds of little gifts and nautical decor and whatnot, but not a bad location for it right there, huh? Picking up a couple little things for the girls, some shells and whatnot, but the other cool thing is little tiny wind chimes made out of shells. I figured it'd be cool to hang in their stateroom, so as the boat rocks, you'll be able to kind of hear that little tinging sound. I think they'll like it. These teak carvings are just amazing. Look at this. I decided to get me some fresh seafood, and Dad told me about this place, but I got a kick out of this. The history of Gregory's. Once upon a time, blah, 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 chemicals and preservatives, not in our fish, blah, 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 shrimp and rice patties, not our shrimp, blah, 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 and they lived happily ever after. I love it. I sort of forgot, when you're not in Boston, you're near New York, you get Manhattan-style clam chowder. Crab dippers, which is like crab meat and cheese, deep fried with a dipping sauce. So the food was great. I actually got fries with cheese and broiled scallops, and I've already eaten 5 of them. It looks like there's still another 5 or so left. So taking this home, and I may heat that up tomorrow. It's delicious though. So I went ahead and took a walk out to the Seaside Heights Casino Pier, and this is an area where my sister and I used to go when we were kids with the family. I was out here a couple weeks ago. There was no one around, but this is getting warmer, so there they are. I took a walk out actually on Casino Pier, and it's funny, you know, as a kid I remember this stuff all being huge and the rides real big, but it was still fun to kind of walk around. You know, they had little kids rides, like the little teacups but shaped like dragons, and you know, all kinds of midway trickery games and whatnot. And then they had this crazy thing you see passing by on the right there. It's shocking. Those little tiny cars in those things, and that is unbelievably tall. So this thing would, you know, spin around, and then the little basket on the end as it's going and you're rocking back and forth, it sort of flips around and goes upside down and everything else. It's just a little nuts looking. But you can quickly see what's about to happen here, right? This thing is slowing down and they're about to let somebody off of it. And you see these folks are kind of on their backs right now, upside down right there, but in order for that basket on the bottom to load new people on, well, they're going to just hang up there for a little while. I wish I knew how tall it was. It's pretty darn tall. Hairy from my perspective. And then there's this little tiny hideaway pirate roller coaster thing and this swing set. They drag everybody up. This thing sits right on the end of the dock. So right beyond there, they are now out over the Atlantic Ocean. So a little bit crazy there. But it looked like they were having a blast. And then the last thing I did was went over by these, I can't remember what the heck they call these things, right? But they got the loud disco music playing, and they start going forward, and then they say, okay, do we want to go faster? And then they keep going faster and faster. And I wish I had the video going when it was going at its full speed, but it was pretty darn quick. And then the last thing I looked at was this roller coaster. Not very big, and I missed where it first drops off, but it goes completely inverted, so more than a 90-degree drop as it goes down. And then you can see on the rails it's going to do a lot of twists and turns and everything else here. But so today is the really big day. Just to put all this in perspective, I am on week 9 that I've been here in New Jersey, and I am getting ready to fly home. I can't wait to go see the wife and the girls, and yeah, love the fact that I can stay here and take care of my dad, and love Facebook Messenger, Facebook Time, or FaceTime, whatever, so I can do little video chats with the family back home, but it's just not the same. And this is absolutely the longest I've ever been away from my wife or the family. And, you know, I'm a big boy, I can do it, but boy, I sure miss them terribly. So I'm excited. I'm getting ready to head home. I think I shared in last week's video, the plan is I fly home. I'm going to spend a day and a half getting the boat prepped for us to leave it for a little bit. Adding a couple of additional bilge pumps, making sure all that stuff is working. We're going to load up the camper, hook it to the truck. We're going to drive to the west coast of Florida. I'm going to get the camper set up and everything ready to go. We're going to rent a boat. We're going to go depth sound a bunch of the canals with waterfront property so we can see which ones have the right depth. And then we're going to meet with a realtor. We're going to look at homes either 1 or 2 days while I'm still there. And then Saturday, I fly back up home. So I'm only going to be there with the family for 6 days. It's a bit of a whirlwind with a good 12 to 13 hour drive from where we are in Louisiana to where we're going on the west coast of Florida. So yeah, it's exciting to do this. So come on, hop aboard the airplane and join me as I head on back and get to spend a little bit of time with the family. And also we start doing a little bit more boat work. So see you on the plane. So I went ahead and flew from Newark Airport in northern New Jersey, essentially right by New York, and I had a layover in Chicago at Midway Airport. So there's something kind of neat about flying when you're above the clouds. So you almost always get sunshine, but as we descended down into the clouds, obviously it got a little bit more cloudy, and I went ahead and did this all in fast motion, put some music behind it. What was cool was as we emerged below the clouds, like you could see down on Lake Michigan, there was this big old ship making its way kind of across the water. Reminded me of the song, the Edmund Fitzgerald. But we kind of continued along the edge of Lake Michigan, heading a little bit southwest. It was kind of cool, again, you know, in and out of the clouds, right along the water, right along the cloud line over the water. And just as we got into land, we banked pretty good, kind of continued our progress over northern Chicago, and ultimately, you know, we arrived, touched down onto the runway, and it looks really funny when you're doing this in very fast motion as we bolt on through the taxiways, and you know, I like to say, and then we skid up onto the gate. Just landed in New Orleans, and I can't wait to go see the family. So
What do you have? Are you gonna cry?
oh wow, you got both, huh? Can I give your mama a hug too?
Hi.
Hi, my lovely bride.
Okay, guys. He's letting us in charge of filming again, so we may just have an abrupt ending because that's what I'm really good at. Ugh.
So we're down here in the bilge. This is the primary bilge pump, and you can see just how disgusting it is here, so I'm going to clean this up. There's our secondary one, and that's the emergency one. The emergency one is not working, and that's one of the ones I want to go ahead and change and fix. And then I'm going to replace this one just to be on the safe side. Mainly the water comes from condensation, and the rear air conditioner condensation drains in here.
Oh, I was about to ask a really stupid question, like that was where the bathtub came from or something, but...
Well, it's not supposed to. There's supposed to be a pump, and I'm going to show you how to do that too.
Okay.
The heat gun in that cabinet down there.
What are we heating?
Yeah. I got to heat this hose so it'll soften up and I can get it off of here. It's
hard.
What happens is there's... Where these go on, there's little ridges like this. And when you soften the hose and you put it on there, the hose forms over it, and when the hoses get old, they get real stiff. So we're going to put a little bit of heat on the outside of the hose.
So it expands?
Not so much expand as soften. So this thing is, as you can see, it's been on here so long that I can't get it off of here. And when I try, it's not even flexible. When I try and get something in there, I can't budge it. So I'm going to heat it up and see if that helps.
Ooh, that looks like it worked a little.
Yep, it softens it up just a little bit. Not much, but just enough to hopefully get it over that lip.
Is the tip of that hot?
Yes.
So you shouldn't have those wires on.
Correct. Thank you.
Safety first.
Or at least third.
Yes, because...
I'm just going to clean a little bit of this stuff off of these hoses.
Huh?
No, baby, I'm going to grandma. Grandma and mommy right now, and then baby will.
Ew. Sure, first.
That's the crap that's in the very bottom of this bilge. Just dirt, dust, sawdust, anything come out of the shower, you name it.
But I thought you said the shower doesn't pump in here.
It's
all
not
the shit
supposed
left
to, but
over from the yard.
if it overflows, it will.
There's probably still a bunch of residue from like
Yeah, there's probably some of it from the
From the
yard work
yard.
too, but not from just the work they're doing, but even the work we're doing.
yeah, all the sanding and stuff.
That's what happens. All this shit's gonna works its way down here. Like, look, there's rubber gaskets and hunks of plastic, and tie wraps, all kinds of shit down in here.
From like bread?
No, like electrical ties.
Oh, like a bolt or something.
That's one of my good sockets.
Or did we find it?
Yeah,
The one that we dropped that we couldn't find?
yeah, that's one of the good ones here. I'm trying to put my hand over my head though.
Found it. Yeah, but he got it back. Oh god.
Then you can't get anything to drink. That's the way you're going to do it. Because, no, I told you.
Touch it. Touch it.
All right, don't scare me with it while I'm down in here, okay?
Okay.
She's got another one. I think the other one's in your car. She's got 2 snakes.
Before we head out of town, we want to go ahead and put in a third bilge pump. So yesterday I installed a new third pump. It's a high capacity 3,700 gallon an hour pump, and it has a 1 1/8 inch line that goes out the side of the boat. That one works great. We fill up the water quite a bit, and I like the way that one works. I also went ahead and replaced my secondary pump with a 2,000 per hour bilge pump, and it has its own float switch and the whole bit. So that one is mounted at a second depth of water. Unfortunately, my primary one, as I was messing around with it, stopped working. It comes on and pumps, but the float switch doesn't seem to be working. So I'm going to take a look and see what's going on with that. Honestly, it's disgusting down in the bilge. So I have sprayed the entire lower bay with a degreaser, and I'm going to scrub the heck out of this thing and then use a shop vac to suck a lot of this stuff back out. I'll film as much as I can. But honestly, when you're working in tight quarters like this and it's hotter than heck and it's going to be a little bit greasy and dirty, sometimes it's just better working without your clothes on that you're going to ruin. So I may or may not have some of this on film. This bilge goes all the way back to the back stateroom. And it's a good 2 feet deep from the bottom of the engine, maybe 2.5 to the lower part of that well. And then there is a lower bilge sump down there. And you can see here where I have the primary, the rule down in the bottom. And then the upper right-hand corner is the secondary one, 1,100 gallons. I was wrong on that. And then the 3,700 gallon an hour on the left. So I have sprayed, this is all wet because I've sprayed everything with a degreaser. And I'm about to use a high-pressure pump to pump through this thing and see if it makes a difference here.
And actually, here's where it all went wrong. So on our boat, we have a couple of different access points into the bilge. You see the one primarily that I've been working on here. It's right in the center of the galley. It's the deepest portion of it. This is the raised section of the sole that's over the top of the motor. As you go aft, on the aft side of the galley is the entrance to the owner's stateroom. And in the owner's stateroom, there's also an opening. It gives you access to the where the prop shaft goes out through the boat and the sort of back side of the bilge. It's about a 20-inch by 20-inch or so opening, and it's probably 4 feet down or so to the bottom of that bilge, about 3.5 to the prop shaft. As you saw just a couple seconds ago in the video, I had Deb kind of pour soapy water down in the back part of the bilge while I was scrubbing it from the front side. We then went ahead and started filling it up with water from a garden hose. We wanted to get it really filled up to see how quick and fast those bilge pumps could keep up with a large water ingress. So if you kind of imagine what happens, right? If you think about it, there's an opening there and you take a step backwards, you're expecting there'd be a floor there. There's not. Immediately you fall down in, all your weight's on it. One leg was in the hole, one wasn't. So one leg went forward into the galley. The other one went all the way down toward the bottom of that bilge. And her hips went down through the opening and ultimately hit her back on the edge of the opening itself. Whitney was up in the galley filming what I was doing in the forward side of the bilge, so she dropped the camera, ran over to her. I climbed out of the bilge and went over to her, and we didn't want to move her. We wanted to make sure she was okay. She was definitely hurt, but we wanted to make sure she was okay. Her back was okay, etc. So we sort of just supported her in that position for a minute to ask her, can you feel your back? Or what, can you move? Are you okay? And she sort of mentally kind of went through that, like, yeah, I think I am. I'm having a hard time breathing. She felt like she could move her body and her back wasn't injured in some way, really badly injured or broken. We each grabbed underneath one of her arms and we lifted her up, essentially to put her butt on the seat, the butt on the floor with her feet down in the opening, right, in a little bit more of a comfortable position. She sat there for a few minutes, was still really having a hard time breathing, catching her breath. She wanted to just lay down. She's like, I just want to lay down. So from that, we're only 2 feet to our bunk. She essentially turned over onto her knees. We helped her up. She sort of, crawled and just laid down right on her side in there. And we kept asking her, are you okay? Are you okay? The problem she was having is she was really having a hard time breathing. She said her chest hurt and she was having a hard time breathing. So we decided to go ahead and call 911. We wanted to make sure, she wasn't having a heart issue or something broke when she landed in there really hard. So we called 911 and, they came down onto the boat with the paramedics and the fire guys. They tried to assist her with standing up to see if she wanted to try and step off the boat or if they'd need to take her off the boat. She was really having a hard time standing up and putting any weight on her leg. So we didn't know if anything was broken. In the end, this is what ended up happening. They put her on essentially a stretcher or a backboard, carried her off the boat onto the dock area, put her on a stretcher, took her in the ambulance over to the hospital. They ran a bunch of x-rays and scans to make sure like a kidney or a bladder or none of the organs were damaged from the hit. Nothing was broken. They do believe she knocked the wind out of herself and said she's going to be sore as hell. I'll put a couple pictures in here. You can just sort of see, the foot was cut up, the bottom of the foot, the side of the foot, the toes, the toenail, everything it hit going down, sort of, tore up skin there. She had this big old honking bruise across her back. She had another one on the other side, like under her arm where that hit the other side of the opening. It just looked really bad. And as bad as it looked here, it got worse over the next, 5 to 7 days, as you can imagine. But, certainly a lesson for everybody. I think we look at this and we say, we goofed up. As soon as we finished with putting something down in that bilge, we should have put that engine cover back on it, or that floor cover, and we didn't. And we're always so worried about one of the kids stepping in it. We'll have something open while we're doing work, and we're constantly saying, floor's open, floor's open, floor's open, anytime somebody moves around. And unfortunately, we didn't do that here, and it caused an injury. Thankfully, it's nothing serious, nothing broken. Deb spent a few hours at the hospital getting checked out and came on back home. She was sore. There was not a lot of bending, moving, or lifting things around, and it wasn't easy getting on and off the boat for sure. But she's okay. It's a good lesson for everybody to learn from our mistake. So what happened?
The boat ate my mom. I'm gonna cry. You cannot film this. It totally it ate her, and she was like a pretzel, and she's not meant to bend that way, and I'm an ugly crier.
I hope you enjoyed this week's video. I know we've been in New Jersey for a while, but I got to fly home. I got to hug little Swab and the rest of the family members, which was great. I wish Chastity would have come to the airport as well, but I got to do that once we got back to the boat. We did this work down on the bilges. As you saw, we started to prep the boat for being away from it for a little bit, at least for Deb and I. Whitney's going to stay on it for a bit. And in next week's episode, we head on to Florida. So we will load up and see you heading east. Thanks, everybody. Safe sailing.